So this afternoon, on our program and approach, we're going to now get into many of the details of a couple of the platforms. Our focus changes a bit from innovating how we innovate to talking more about what are some of the current platforms, how are they moving forward, and where are we going to take them and go with that. But to introduce this whole section for us, I'd like to welcome Luke to the podium here. So Luke is, I grabbed the wrong sheet here. Luke is from Janssen Pharmaceuticals, where he's a very important leader whose title I have forgotten. So just treat him like the CEO and it will be just fine, all right, through all this. But Janssen has been a wonderful sponsor of us here in many ways, and particularly for this event, and is one of those firms that is, as Mike Cusimano said, you need someone to step up and lead, and Janssen has been doing that in a whole variety of ways. And Luke, could you introduce this section for us, please?
Sure, thanks. Thanks, Mark and Gigi, also for the invite for what I personally think is a quite exciting meeting. Titles don't matter when you collaborate, really, so no worries.
Well, but could you share yours with us? And then
I head up development for neuroscience for Janssen, and external affairs, which is the tie-in to this, because that part of my job is about how do we collaborate across companies, public-private partnerships, patient advocacy. And in the couple of minutes I'm going to recapitulate some of the things you already heard, but just to reinforce that certainly me personally, but also Janssen has put its money where its mouth is in terms of believing in platform trials, given we participate in about 3 at this particular moment. So, the last 20 years, modern medicine has added about years of quality to society. But we are running out of the easy things to solve. And together with the explosion of science that already was mentioned earlier, where we now find that diseases are much more complex than we thought, that we have much more targets to aim at, and that it's very unlikely that any one of those targets will actually solve the disease. Therefore, combination treatments is something we need to think about early. We are now faced with this big bottleneck that was already mentioned earlier. And our current development paradigm is really not conducive to accept all these new opportunities. And it's also way too expensive. And not just in amounts of money, we can always print more, quantitative easing, but the most precious resource we have, we can never get back, and that's time. So clearly something has to change. And that change can be driven in part by the desire for faster learning about molecules, but not just single molecules, but of a set of molecules moving through a similar platform. And I think that's going to be the key to faster picking the winners and picking the best combinations. Again, a theme that also came out of the I-SPY talk. So we definitely at Janssen, but working also with leaders across industry, really think that platform trials could be a new standard in the making. That 5-10 years from now, this is how we select our molecules for confirmatory trial, is in a platform trial environment. We strongly believe that. Hence our participation in my EPAD, of which I will talk about later. We also in Diane. We just announced with the UK government that we will set up a platform trial for mental health in the UK. And we are in discussion with many of our company colleagues in IMI Think Big to set up a platform trial of platforms, which is quite exciting. So with that, I want to then kick off the session and talk about learnings.
Well, thank you very much, Luke. And thank you for your help and sponsorship for all this. Platform of platforms. We said we were going to be catalyzing things, so we're catalyzing them up a couple layers here, apparently. So thank you for all that.